Hello and welcome to the Spa Show. It is Tuesday. It is 1 o'clock in the Eastern Standard Time. I am talking to someone who is not in the Eastern Standard Time. And also I'm getting a phone call at the same time, which I have to ignore. Sorry, honey. I'm ignoring you right now. This is my wife. I'm ignoring my wife. Now you know it. That's how the game is played. So I will call her later. That's what I told her. So yes, we're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We are also on Clubhouse. Clubhouse, the app where I've discovered the world, or at least some section of it where other people are also on Clubhouse. Anyway, the Spa Show. I am Chris Bass. I am with a small company called the Savannah Performance Alliance. And what we'd like to do is promote local performance and bind together those ties that may or may not exist locally in the Savannah, Georgia area. But also, I like to reach out to a greater community of performers, actors, disciplines in the performance industry, and just have chats and talk and kind of, I don't want to say expose, because that, makes people think that I'm naked, which I'm not. Clubhouse, I'm not naked right now. But I like to expose our community to people who are out there doing things that they can actually do as well, which in this case, we've been talking about voiceover for the past couple of weeks. And I have a gentleman that I met on Clubhouse who does just that, as well as many, 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 many other things. And he is waiting backstage right now. He is enjoying our fine charcuterie board, which, and he's also, apparently he's got a cigarette. I don't know. It's just like, I don't think we put cigarettes back there, but you're welcome to partake if there are some. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is for your visual pleasure and mine, as well as audio pleasure. I don't know what that means. Danny Montooth.
Hooray!
Hey!
Oh, yay!
Yeah, there you are. No, you're not muted. They can hear you.
Right,
I promise.
Right.
Yeah, we rigged it.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, it's morning there, isn't it? So you're on the West Coast. Well, I'm on the East Coast. So
yes,
we
Southern California. I'm in the Long Beach area.
So if we do this right now, you could put your hand up on the screen. Oh. No, other way. And now it's like we're bridging the entire nation. We just did that. And we made magic happen. But Danny, it's a pleasure to have you on these numerous stages with me. And I look forward to our discussion. Before I get started, though, I do feel it. I have to play this because there was some confusion when I named the room earlier. So I have to play this for everybody.
I will smash your face into a car windshield and then take your mother, Dorothy Montooth, out for a nice seafood dinner and never call her again.
Dorothy Montooth is a saint. You understand me? Dorothy Montooth is a saint.
Hey, leave the mothers out of this, all right?
Thank you. Thank you, Ron Burgundy. Always leave the mothers out of it. So yeah, I apologize. I created this room like in a minute, and I spelled your name Montooth. So
you did. It's very common, but it's the same root name. They both come from Menteith, so it's all good.
Interesting.
It's a whole Scottish thing.
Oh, the Scots.
Oh yes.
Nice. So I have to ask, are you in a Scottish pub right now?
I am not. This is a picture of our tavern. The tavern is actually out this door around the corner to my right. But at our studio, we have a tavern set where we play a lot of our tabletop RPG games. And it looks like, it's a little different than that now. We don't have that picture up anymore. Now there's like a banner. We have different chairs and a whole bunch of other stuff. But that was like the day we finished. We took some fun.
So this is in your house?
Not my house.
Okay.
In our studio. So
you're at your studio right now. Okay.
Yeah, we're at a studio location space. Oh yeah, my house, the sound is bad. So
okay. That's awesome.
We got bird and 2 dogs, so recording is impossible.
I bet. I had some people doing lawn care next door to me earlier today, so I was a little worried that they would still be doing it. Fortunately, I think they're taking a a much deserved lunch break because it is tremendously hot outside right now. And I can't imagine trying to work in these conditions. But you mentioned RPG. You record yourselves and others playing RPG.
Yes.
And stream it.
Yes. Yeah. So we do all of our shows live. We've done maybe a couple pre-recorded, but generally we're live on Twitch or YouTube. We do mostly Dungeons and Dragons, but we branch out to other systems. We're starting a Teens in Space game this week. And then eventually there's a new Avatar: The Last Airbender system that's on Kickstarter right now. And so we're going to start a game in that system Monday nights at some point. But we've got something going on the channel 5 days a week. We only take Saturdays and Sundays off. And even then, sometimes we'll pepper stuff in for fun. Yeah, I'm a big old tabletop board gamey type nerd. I love that stuff.
So that's on Twitch. How would people find that on Twitch? What do they need to look for?
So we are Perception Studio. So twitch.tv/Perception Studio. We're also Perception Studio on YouTube. And then social medias, we were dumb and picked a really long name. So we're Percept Studio on Twitter and Instagram.
I hate that. That you come up with a name and then you put it somewhere and then you look at it and you're like, wait a minute. That seems, but then you just go with it.
Such a good idea at the time. Yeah, it was just like, oh, it's great. It happens in almost every game. A perception check. Woo! Oh, yeah. The company was initially Perception Check when we only had the one show, and then we're like, we're adding more shows, but they can't all be Perception Check, so that doesn't make sense. So then we get Perception Studio. And it's a whole thing. We've been doing it for like 4 years now, and it just keeps kind of snowballing into something bigger, which is crazy because we started in like a portion of my friend's workshop garage. On like a little tiny, like it's like a sawhorse, a slab, one shitty microphone. Sorry, I don't know if I can cuss here.
No, go ahead.
Okay. And like, single camera, no lights, super bad, like super bad. So if you ever go to our YouTube, you can scroll all the way back to our very first episode and then kind of see what our production value is now. And you're just like, oh, look at that. Big grew up.
All right. So I'm going to do that right now. And I'm going to post, I'm going to post a link is what I'm going to do. That's really what I'm trying to do. Perception Studios. And okay. Wait a minute. That's not it. PerceptionStudio.tv. That must be it. Is that it?
I don't know. Yeah, that should take you to Twitch, I hope. Unless we still have that weird landing page that doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, it is a weird weird landing page.
Yeah, twitch.tv/Perception Studio or youtube.com/Perception Studio. Those are the places you want to go.
Twitch.tv. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and fix that for you right now. No, I'm not. I'm gonna fix the link that I put in and then go to yes. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the link on Twitch. Our viewership of 2 right now. Thank you, those 2 that are watching on Facebook and YouTube. Also, thank you to Alex, Jaws, Sam, and Sylvia for joining us on Clubhouse. We so enjoy having you here. We will open up the floor for questions in a minute, but right now I'm just discovering Danny. Quite a bit of this discovery just happened. So I do have a couple people joining us in Facebook and YouTube. Facebook, cool. We have Mr. Christopher Jean Sousay.
Hello.
And somehow you guys are connected. We haven't figured out that connective tissue yet. But we also have Miss Mandy Madsen, who's a very, very wonderful person who loaned me a mandolin. I still have Mandy's mandolin, and I need to get Mandy's mandolin back to Mandy.
How much fun is it to say Mandy's mandolin?
It's a lot
that's
fun.
Just the best.
I've been saying it for weeks. Anyway.
Weird mandolin story detour a while back before the end times. I got to go see Paul McCartney in concert, and my favorite thing is just like how good he is and how relaxed he is now in his art. And my favorite is like he would kind of like talk down to the audience, but in the most adorable way. Like he would just pick up an instrument, and I just distinctly remember him grabbing a mandolin, pointing at it, going like mandolin. And then started playing it like a boss. But it was just so funny that he felt the need to tell us what it was.
It's like he has this bag of instruments. He just pulls it out. Bassoon.
Right. All right, buddy. Like, I get it.
And Mandy has joined us. She says Mandy Lynn needs her mandolin. That is her actual name, Mandy
You're
Lynn.
Kidding me.
No, not.
That's amazing.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm trying to think of stories I might have about a mandolin. I think I'm just going to tap my lip for a minute and see if anybody can hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I recently played a gig. Talking like I'm in a band. No, I did a show like a week or so ago, and I was going to attempt to play the mandolin at the show, and I learned some chords. I did okay with them, but then when it came time to do it, I just handed it to someone else. Here, and she's asking now
my brother is a musician in the family.
Oh, is he?
I am not that. Yeah, he plays bass, but he does guitar and piano and sings and stuff. Jazz is his jam. That's
A jazz jam.
Mm-hmm.
So, among other things, you also work your hand up felt things.
Correct. Felt, fleece, and foam. Yeah. So I've been a professional puppeteer for the last, I want to say 17 years. I started in 2005 when I was 17 at the Walt Disney Company. Started in parades. So my very first job was as Ursula the Sea Witch, which was a giant, massive Michael Curry puppet that required 2 people to be fully inside of this like 20-foot thing. Then after that, I went on to do shows. So I did old Playhouse Disney Live on stage, like the Bear in the Big Blue House show, as well as the Under the Stage tracks. And then that turned into Disney Junior. When Disney Junior came around, I became a specialist. So I started training people in puppetry across the parks and special events and all that kind of stuff. So it was a cool gig. It was super fun. And I got to play with like my heroes on a couple of occasions. Like we got trained by Muppeteers to play Muppet characters for like a pre-parade thing because they wouldn't sign us off without like the Muppet thumbs up. So no stress, right? It was super fun. That was probably my favorite thing I did there. That and Bear. Those were my 2 favorite things.
Bear in the Big Blue House.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I wanted to make sure I remember that correctly. I do remember the show. So you got to work with some of your heroes. You said that. Which heroes are you talking about specifically? Can you say, or is it under Disney?
Yeah,
NDA?
I mean they laid me off. I can say that. So it's so they had a thing called the Muppets Pre-Parade Cavalcade, which was it was volunteer day, get a day in the park. It was the height of a slow summer, so they created a thing, and so they had Muppets come in. But yeah, so they brought in Steve Whitmire, while he was still Kermit, and Eric Jacobson, who is the newer and current Piggy and Fozzie. And they, oh yay, mine too, Christopher. Yeah, so basically it was just us in a room, like in a rehearsal hall room with them, Muppets strewn about on like the like on top of pianos and stuff. And the biggest seared into my brain moment is Steve Whitmire, who has been Kermit since like Christmas Carol.
Oh my God.
Like, turning his head, he's like Shaggy, he's like, hey, grab that Kermit over there. I'm like, yeah. Walk over and put on a Kermit and stand next to him. We're just like in the mirror, both of us with Kermits on our arms. And it was also really fun to watch them teach because they've been doing it for so long and they were already good. So it's like not everyone is used to the teaching portion. So it was fun to watch them dissect their own performances to then tell us like what the physical and movement traits were of these characters, because it was like they've never really had to break it down. They just did it. So that was cool. It was just like a fun experience for everybody. And I think initially they were like, who are these a-hole kids? And then by the end of it, they're like, no, you guys are pretty good. I'll have a good time. We'll see you later. But they were a hoot. And that was a super cool moment.
Yeah.
But I still think out of everything, Bear was the most challenging thing I ever did at the park and the most ultimately rewarding. I did a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, what'd you see? What was that?
Oh no, I got a ping or something.
Oh, a ping.
Never mind. It's all good. It's in my ear. I'm very jumpy.
So that I don't know why this just like popped into my brain, but there was a show. It was like one of those competition shows where they built puppets. Have you seen that?
Instant Creature Shop Challenge.
Yes.
Yeah. Friend of mine was a set designer on that show. But yeah, that show was crazy cool, and I wish it kept going forever because the designs I went through were just gorgeous.
It was Sci-Fi Channel, right? Sci-Fi Channel, and it was only like one season. But yeah, there was some crazy stuff that they were doing.
That was super cool. And it was neat because they like would weirdly like they cut some like sorry, let me break that down. So like when it was the Skeksis challenge, right? So they would sculpt their puppets, but then overnight, like other people at the shop would like run their foam and like put in the mechs and stuff like that. So they still had like assistance. Not to say the artistry is not there or anything like that, but I just think it was interesting that they glossed over some of the stuff that I thought is also crazy interesting. What makes Henson stuff.
Right.
And I wish it was like I wish they were 2.5-hour episodes. I'm the guy who like sits and watches behind the scenes nonstop forever. Like I have the Lord of the Rings behind the scenes stuff memorized now because I would just watch it over and over again. I love that stuff. Yeah,
that's crazy. So I'm guessing because of your background in puppetry and working in that space, was that a natural transition for you from that to doing voiceover?
Yeah. I actually kind of fell into puppetry because it was more real time than animation. Because I initially wanted, like way back when, I wanted to be an animator when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took an animation class in high school. Yeah, you too.
Yeah.
It's so cool, but it's really, really hard. Who knew?
I got this thing right here. I gotta pull it out and actually do some work on it sometime soon.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I finally got an iPad so I can play around and Procreate and stuff. So that's been fun. But anyway, so like puppetry becomes real-time animation, and that's one of my favorite things about it. It follows the same sort of rules of animation. It breaks the same laws of physics that animation does. You can all the same squash and stretch techniques, all that stuff works with puppetry. I even found out, so this is something that I thought was super cool, is I used to cite Chuck Jones as homework for new puppeteers. I was like, watch Chuck Jones, watch his lines of action, watch all this stuff, watch how he times stuff out. I found out later that before he got into animation, dude was a puppeteer.
What?
I was like, no, yeah, right. And I just found that out, like, I want to say 2 weeks ago, and that just blew my mind. I was like, you're kidding me. Like, he's my go-to. So it's like, obviously, watch Henson stuff, watch other puppeteers, but like also watch the things that inspire them and like what informs their movement. And anyway, I just thought that was a cool detail. I was like, Chuck Jones, you genius, you.
Yeah. He was a genius and had a genius voice as well.
Did he?
No, he didn't.
Ooh.
I made that up.
Oh, all right. Oh yeah. So sorry, I totally went past the point. But yeah, so that became like puppetry became like, oh, this is a quick way for me to now lend my voice to a thing that is already here that I can just mess around with.
Yeah.
And I'm a ham, but I'm a ham who likes to hide. So voiceover and puppetry are.
That was a game we played when I was a kid. We played Hide the Ham during Christmas, and my mom, she was always annoyed by Hide the Ham. She's like, "Please go find the ham. We need to eat now." And it's like, "No, Mom, you're missing the point. The person that finds the ham eats the ham. That's the deal. So hide the ham. Try it this Christmas." Anyway, yeah, I was actually having a conversation with my son just the other day. Because now he has switched gears in college. He's now taking 2D animation as his major, which I am tremendously proud of. I can't, it fills my heart that he wants to do that. And I want to help him along as much as I can. So we were having this discussion about where, animation began, like who was the first animator. Mm-hmm. So I'd love to hear your opinion on that.
Who was the first animator? Funny you should mention that. I just read an article about this, and it is so. Have you seen? And if you already know this, you can interrupt me. But
okay.
Have you seen like the old cave paintings where you would see? Okay, so we're on the same page.
Yes.
Yeah, the old cave paintings where you'd see multiple legs, and it was just like, oh well, like is this a deity? Is this just like them attempting motion? But it was because they would do it by the light of like a fat lantern or whatever. So the flickering flame of the torch and the way the light would interrupt and change would force animation upon the wall. So like the earliest animators were the first people to ever pick up a pencil, and that stuff is just, well, not a pencil, but you know what I mean. Yeah, so I read that article and I was like, that makes so much sense.
Yeah,
so that's so cool.
Yeah, it's amazing when we figure this stuff out, and you're like, oh well, we don't know what this means, but wait a minute, this makes sense. Let's go with that. So we're going to go with that for about 100 years, and then we're gonna change it entirely. We're going to say that they had actually 5 eyes. We just don't have it documented anywhere. Chris Susi, he says, have you heard about cave art animation? Chris, is that a question or a statement? Have you heard about cave art? Can you say that as a statement? You can't really say that as a statement, can you? Scratching my head over that. Anyway. Yeah, but then we were actually talking about Gertie the dinosaur.
Yay!
Yeah.
I
So
love that one.
yeah, and Nemo, was it Nemo in Dreamland? Little Nemo,
Yeah.
Little Nemo in
Little
Dreamland.
Nemo. I used to watch that one a lot too. I was a big sucker for animation growing up. I still am. It's probably my favorite medium because you can do anything. It's great.
Literally anything, anything your mind can on the page. That's what you do. So
I remember I had the VHS of the cartoons, like cartoons with a hyphen, and so it had like the Little Blue Coop cartoon on it, and Small Fry, and a few other ones. Like I forget the animation house, but it was a very weird, distinct style. And I know that Little Blue Coop was the one that inspired the like the Cars movies as far as design goes and their faces and stuff. And that one was like super depressing and very sad. It was like this little blonde blue car, and the guy falls in love. They fall in love with each other. It's very cute. Right? I know.
yeah, I mean, honestly, I could talk about animation for decades. But let's move on. Wait, why do I want to move on? I want to keep talking about animation. Why not? Why not? What is your favorite genre of animation? Let me ask that.
I feel like it's a cheap shot to say puppetry, so I won't. But
Okay.
genre of animation
Other than puppetry, what is your
puppetry? Genre.
Shadow animation?
No, I mean, I guess traditional 2D multi-plane. Give me some Miyazaki style stuff. Like, I like, classic Disney, and not necessarily the storytelling classic Disney, but the technique of classic Disney and Miyazaki, and like, just that mastery of the form, I think is my favorite stuff to look at. And like Triplets of Belleville, like when it gets weird, but it's still super pretty. Like I love stuff like that. I like it when they push design and they push color in really fun ways.
So Fantasia?
Love Fantasia. Love the first Fantasia a lot.
Not so much the second one. Second one was just why even go there?
Yeah, but like I love stuff like Fantasia because it's really just you take the most creative people, you chuck them all in a room, and you say make something beautiful, and you come out with something untouchable, like legendary.
Yeah.
Granted, some slightly outdated, offensive crap in Fantasia, but it's fine. I love stuff like that. I like sometimes just, art for art's sake is really, really fun.
Yeah.
I wish more people did it.
For those two of you that are on Clubhouse right now, and thank you for being there, Alex and Amra. I so appreciate you. Danny is actually sitting inside of a pub right now, and I think he has some animal skins on the wall, as well as some shields. I think there's some shields back there.
Yes, we got shields, we got weapons, we got lots of tankards, cups. We got silhouettes of our felted friends on the wall.
Really?
Chunks right now. Yeah, so this one right here, that's Chunk's profile. He's the little blue guy.
So the characters that you are currently involved in at Perception Studios, where did those come from?
So Cucumber, who is my sort of alter ego, but out in the world, I say I'm his manager. He is my client because he is, for all intents and purposes, for our studio. They are hosts and players and all that stuff in their own right, and they actually go and guest on other places on their own. We like to keep that separate and keep that sort of illusion alive. That's a big deal for us. But I mean, I know Cucumber started as an audition puppet just to have him handy, and then he didn't really get a personality until we did a show at the IO West, and we needed characters, and so I was like, all right, here he is. And the first thing that came out of my mouth was like, I guess that's him forever now. And I locked it in, and that became him. When I designed him, I wanted him to actually be this very sort of like sad and sweet type character, but he just became this raging asshole, like who means well. Like he's sweet, but he like has no impulse control. So it's like, it's a whole other thing. But that's where Cucumber came from. Chunk, was designed and built by Art Vega, who is a third of our company. And then we have a couple other Felted Friend characters who are Brian, who's puppeteered by my friend Andrew Lockerbie, and then we have Willow, who's puppeteered by Amber Reeder, and all of us puppeteered together at Disney for like 15 years. So we all are used to each other's gags and all that stuff. So we can both perform alongside each other beautifully, but also call each other out on our dumb shit all the time, which is great. We all have a good performance rapport, which is super fun.
So Perception Studios and these 4 characters, you guys host the shows online. What else do you do with these characters?
So Cucumber particularly is, so he'll go and he'll do charity streams. So actually this Thursday he's guesting a game for a game that's raising money for Jasper's Game Day, which is like an anti-suicide thing or a suicide awareness thing. But yeah, generally it's like they'll go and anywhere else, our role-playing players would go. Cucumber's also been on Screen Junkies movie fights as a contender. He won the belt a couple years back. Those are the same guys who make Honest trailers and all that stuff. And
Okay, yeah.
So so it's been super fun, and I think it's my favorite moment is the moment where it goes from the novelty of this being a puppet character versus oh crap, they know what they're doing, and so it's like the novelty wears off after about 10 minutes. So you've got to actually be good.
Yeah.
Actually have character, and you got to actually have things to back that up with. Otherwise, it's exhausting. And I think that some people don't realize that, and it's interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, that is interesting. I wonder, did you start off being able to improv this stuff beforehand? Did you take improv classes, or that's something you learned along the way? Eventually you did.
I mean, yeah, I'm a playful person by nature. I play a lot of games. I play a lot of role-playing games. So I've had the barest bones of improv training from that kind of stuff. So I'm comfortable messing around with people I was comfortable with, but I was never comfortable messing around or improvising with people I didn't know until I started taking classes at Second City. So I went through their improv program, conservatory program, and that busted my brain wide open for all the kind of fun that you can have in a really supportive performance environment. Just the knowledge, we're all free falling together. So the only way to survive this is to have each other's back is the coolest thing ever. Because you think, from an outside perspective, looking at improv, it's you just have to be this genius standing up there, coming with all this stuff by yourself, but you're not. You're just that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. All right. And here's this gift. Cool. And it's just it's chucking, it's playing catch with each other. That's all it is. And that sort of, I love that mentality. It seriously, it shifted my mindset, not just for performance, but just life in general. It's one of those, it's very confidence boosting. It's one of my favorite coaches from Second City. And my favorite thing that I took away from that, it's all the best stuff is on the other side of I don't know, or the way he phrased it, everything, all the best stuff is on the other side of fuck it. And it's and I love that. And it's true, right? It's you don't know unless you just go and fall on your face 1,000 times. And eventually you don't care when you fall on your face anymore. Because there's nothing better than bombing terribly in front of an audience. It was terrifying the first time it happens, but then you go backstage, you're like, wow, that was awful. Let's go do better.
Yeah. One of the stories I always tell about the first time I did stand up, and a friend of mine who's also a voice actor who does stand up challenged me to do this when I was I think 20 years old. There was a local stand-up house, comedy shop, whatever, haha lounge or whatever they called it. And he said, you need to come out for open mic. I'm like, are you kidding me? I can't do this. And he convinced me to do it. I wrote a 5-minute set out of nothing, just gobbledygook. I can't even remember what it was, but I got up on stage. I couldn't remember anything that I had worked on. And I just, spewed verbal vomit on the entire crowd. And then I got off and he looked at me and said, man, you bombed well. It's and I've always held on to that because that's the truest form of improv for me is to get up there and be able to just throw it all out there, don't care, and then get up and keep going. I think that's
And there's another fun thing I realized, especially with scene work and improv, is just one of those things. It's you can be doing beautifully, but it's not necessarily for the audience. You can be that was a great scene. You walk out there not necessarily that it was funny, but it's we connected, we were supporting each other. The yes ands were super strong, and objectively this was good. It's just like the audience doesn't care. We're like, yo, fuck them. Like, this is great. Like, this is a good time.
We had fun.
But then also, yeah, but also being able to recognize like that was terrible. It's like, that's the thing. It's like having your own sort of active litmus test for every scene is also important. Like, you got to self-monitor. But I like the terrible shows were almost more fun because at that point you just don't care. So you're just going to let go and have the most fun in the room. And I love that.
Yeah.
I also, what eventually pushed me into taking improv classes was I was doing Ghost Town Alive, which was like a 40+ person improvised thing that Knott's Berry Farm was doing. So we were all playing these Western characters populating the ghost town. So I was Levi Newman, a neurotic postman, and so it was fun. It's like there was a loose story that would happen throughout the day, and the guests could change the outcome. But basically, if they came up with us with any idea, we'd just be like, "That's the best thing I've ever heard," and we'd just go do it. And it was super, super fun. And it was interactive. You know, you had a whole literal town full of other performers just out there supporting you, and you just play along. They'd create these intricate storylines for you, and everyone thought like, you all are so wonderful. It's like, we're literally just doing what you're telling us to do. It's super fun. But thank you.
All right, I'm going to do something crazy here. I'm going to try to do something crazy, and let's see. So at this point in the show, we are going to not transition as much as just invite people who are on Clubhouse to join us up on stage. If you have any questions or comments, or you'd like to just shout out something, you are welcome to. I am also going to post something to Instagram if I can figure this out in like under 2 minutes. But yeah, guys, if you want to jump up on stage and you have any questions for myself or Danny, please feel free. Alex, Amra, Spa, you're not a real person, so I'm not going to invite you up on stage. But yeah, absolutely. And if you want to ping some friends in here and join the conversation, that'd be cool too. It's just us in a room with 2 other people, and isn't that cozy? Yay. Yeah, go for it. And what I'm going to do, this is all behind the scenes stuff for you guys on Facebook and YouTube. This is us on what is that? That's called Clubhouse. It's on Clubhouse, and I'm going to share this to my Instagram if I can. And I'll put it in the story, and I'll say live now, and everybody will just flock in like nobody's business. Oh, Amra wants to join us on stage. So I'll take a break from what I'm doing to invite Amra up. And yes, there you go. Hello.
Hey, Chris. Hey, Danny. How you doing?
Doing great.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, thank you. I'm enjoying listening. I thought I'd come say hi to you both. And Danny, I've never really met a puppeteer, so I was reading your profile, looking at your Instagram. It looks amazing.
Thank you.
And want to thank people like yourselves for bringing us so much fun and animation and puppetry and creativity in the work that you do. You may not always hear it. And yeah, like I'm obviously since a kid, I haven't been in touch with that side of things. Do you know if there's anything nice happening in London, maybe that you may know in your world that I should check out, or anything?
I think like puppetry wise in London.
Yeah, that's where I'm based. Or animation, like if you know of anything in your world that is happening that I need to look out or know about.
I wish I knew. I think the last thing they were doing in London was Dark Crystal, and that was a while back. As far as like Hollywood stuff. So they did that whole season out there. But currently, I don't know. I don't have my ears to the ground for out there, but I can ask around.
Okay.
Community is still pretty small. There's a puppeteer I know named Dave Barclay, and he's from London, and he was on like he's been around since Star Wars. Like the dude he's a legend. He was like a fifth of Jabba the Hutt, and he was the backup Yoda guy and a couple other things. Like dude's super cool. I could maybe ask him if he knows anything. But
Yeah,
I wish I had something for you. I don't.
That's okay. That's okay. You know, I think all of us have an inner child, and we all love that kind of stuff. So I don't actually know much in terms of what to ask you. You must get asked 1,000 times like how you got into it, which is probably obvious. You had a passion for it and you pursued it, or something like that.
Sure.
Is there anything someone like myself should know about animation or puppetry that most of us wouldn't know, like a fun fact or something amazing you're working on? Anything you could share with us, please?
Sure. I think puppetry is a great way to stretch other acting muscles as well. Same thing with animation, right? In order to be a good animator, in order to be a good puppeteer, you still have to be a good actor. Just like voice acting or any other sort of, subset of skill, you got to know how to tell a story. You got to understand character. You got to understand intention. You got to understand pacing, movement, inflection. All that stuff is super, super important because you're doing all the things an actor has to do, but you can only do it from your elbow up, and get all of the same intentions and emotions across. And I think that's the challenge, right? It's like, how do you minimize that, and how do you get it so clean to the point where you know what every puppet is thinking? Like, you should be able to tell a story completely with no dialogue with the puppet, the same way that somebody could have a silent scene on stage, and that it's a great way to stretch yourself. And you can take those same techniques and then apply them to yourself, because I'm weirdly uncomfortable on a stage as myself. So like I do this weird mental gymnastic thing where I'm like, I'm just a puppet, so what would my puppet do if I was in the scene? It's super freaking weird, but it helps me and it works. As far as stuff that I'm working on, earlier this year I wrapped a B horror film called Abruptio, where I am puppeteering literally every character in the movie. It's going to be super gory, super violent. Don't show any children ever, please. And it comes out, I think, by Halloween. If they're done editing it, it should come out. So that'll be a hoot. And then I'm like my own channel stuff. So we're doing shows 5 days a week online, and all of our shows are interactive. So you can influence the story, you can mess with us, you can do all kinds of stuff like that. We also do. I'm doing a music video this weekend with a friend of mine, or a bunch of local puppeteer friends of mine. Should be pretty fun. Actually, no, we're shooting that 2 weekends from now. We're rehearsing this weekend. Yeah, I don't know. I'm happy to answer questions.
One more, if I may, if that's okay, Alex. Just to clarify for us non-specialists, when you say puppetry, it's not obviously just a puppet that goes on your hand. Is it does that encompass when you get into the whole bodysuit? Is it the one like on strings? Can you actually help us understand what form of puppetry you're involved in? Like when you say music video, to a normal person, non-puppeteer, sorry, not normal, non-puppeteer, what does that actually mean? Because we grew up seeing puppets like Elmo or whatever.
Right.
So please, could you help us understand a bit more?
Absolutely. Yeah. So my main training is in those Muppet style puppets. So hand and rod puppets are what I'm trained in. That's what I spent the most time doing, especially for the parks at Disney. So all of our puppets were essentially that, and some of them were more complex than others. So we also had like large rod puppets that were mechanical, and we had different blinks and mouth mechanisms and stuff like that would be on the rod. The puppet was completely filled with. We had so we had like articulated characters as well that would use a proprietary system that I cannot break down without risking getting sued into oblivion. But there's some really cool toys out there. But yeah, I mean, all forms of puppetry are valid, and they all generally will use the same. Ooh, I'm hearing myself. But there's so like full body stuff as well. Like again, I did Bear in the Big Blue House for a long time, and that character was nuts because you had to. Our version, it was slightly different than the television used version. Television used version was a lot like Big Bird, where you'd be looking down at a monitor, seeing the final camera feed. But in our case, because it was live and we had obstacles like giant holes in the floor to avoid, we had a goggle system. So we were seeing out of Bear's eye. So suddenly you're 7.5 feet tall with no depth perception, avoiding giant moving set pieces and trying not to step into holes as trapdoors are opening and closing around you while you're doing the cha-cha. Like it was super, super fun. But also like we've done, like I mentioned like, way at the top of this, there's like Michael Curry puppets are often made out of like bike parts and fiberglass, and they're huge. So it's but you're still trying to accomplish this same illusion of life, no matter what size or technique, like no matter what the articulation is, you're still trying to tell that story, find that emotion. Yeah, so the music video is just another hand and rod style puppet. So it's just, you know, I got a guy above my head doing the thing, making him cute, walking down the street, being adorable.
I was going to say one of the things that jumped into my mind that maybe Amra, you have seen are these gigantic, colossal puppets, and I see them a lot in Europe. Like videos from Europe where these colossal puppets are walking down the street.
Like the elephant and the girl. I love those so much.
Yeah.
Those are so cool.
Have you seen any of those, Amra?
I think I may have, you know. I think sometimes, you know, when you're not in the industry, you don't pay attention.
Right.
Or maybe a bit less because you're absorbed in other things, maybe. Or I probably have, and I just didn't know it was a puppet, or I've just forgotten. But it's fascinating. You probably have one of the most funnest jobs ever. Genuinely, Danny, like that's so cool.
It's a good time. It's real bad for your body, but holy man, is it fun.
Yeah.
So, but you did bring up an interesting point, right? There's also like invisible puppetry in films that you would probably never think about, right? So it's like if you look at Superman, they had like two to three people on his cape, making that cape look good for the shot. You look at Spider-Man 2, my friend Greg Ballora was the lead tentacle of Dr. Octopus. Like things that you don't really think about, or sometimes you'll assume they're CG, but like that each arm had a personality in that film, and they were all brought to life by different people.
So was like King Kong a huge puppet, or was that CGI kind of animation?
Depends on the Kong.
Yeah.
So like old school Kong was stop motion, Ray Harryhausen. Like, I love
the
that
Broadway version though.
That was a giant monster puppet, and it's super freaking cool. Oh man, I got to see some really cool large puppets. I got to see a while back. We did a sort of like trade tour thing. So we let the cast of the touring How to Train Your Dragon tour our Disney Junior break room, and so they let us go and watch the How to Train Your Dragon show from the booth. And that was nuts because it was all remote control, live control, like audio animatronic stuff. It was a rig called a voodoo rig. And so they would put their arm in the sleeve that had like these cylinders, and like, so this would control the head, blah, blah, blah. But then if the puppet 180'd, the brain knew that. So then this became like the back. And it was insane. It was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And there's like little keyboards for various little effects and stuff, like ears perking up or wings flapping, that kind of thing. And so yeah.
I got to break in for a second here, Danny, because I just noticed who's in our audience on Clubhouse, and I want to see if she wants to come up. Stacy Gordon, are you interested in coming up and talking with us?
Yeah.
Please do if you can. Yes, here she comes.
The coolest.
Alex, we're gonna get to you in just a second. I just want to introduce. Hi, Stacy. How are you?
Hi, I'm actually sitting here with Alex's sister.
What? Okay, so Alex, we're gonna let you introduce yourself, and then I'm gonna go to Stacy. Alex, please tell us about yourself.
I am here definitely sort of obliquely on topic. My primary thing is pretty much creating board and card games, but
yes.
I actually stuck around from the standpoint that I have done an awful lot of voiceover work and whatnot over the years, at a far more amateur level in a sense than what you guys represent, and I'm delighted for that. I'm just going to kind of pitch this question out there, and then I'll kind of step back and let you guys play. One of the things that I found really curious, and of course I worked with Stacy for 4.5 years on a delightful weekly puppet show that no one can see anymore, unfortunately. But and as the narrator, I've had a career online of playing second fiddle to sheep and a disembodied glove, but one of the things that vocally I kind of get recognized every so often is for an app that I did for Catan, where I did the voice of Professor Easy, and Stacy did the voice of the assistant on that same app as well. And I tell the story often about how I kind of came to the voice of that character, and I won't go down that road right now, but I'd be interested in hearing how you guys approach creating a voice from scratch. I did a lot of radio comedy, which is easy to emulate someone else. In the case of this app, I came upon a concept, and of course, as you understand, it's not only about just finding that voice, but to be able to find that voice on demand, to be able to perform in that voice. And for me, it was kind of a weird organic process that I got to mine. But I'm curious, when you have multiple voices, when you are trying to keep track of potentially dozens of these things in your head, the process by which you achieve them and then store them for later use.
That's a great question. I have an answer. I'm going to let you answer first, Annie.
Oh, great. Oh, boy. So not recently, but I run into this every now and then. And one of my favorite things about running D&D so often is it actually helps me flex that muscle a lot, because I have to keep track of NPCs, and my players end up liking a lot of them. So at a certain point recently, they, for instance, had an entire army comprised of just about everyone they had met over the course of about 2 years. And so I'm having to like hop into all these different characters. So for me, the easiest thing is to find like, what is their, one of the first things about, okay, like who are they? How much energy do they put into communicating? So it's like, how much, how fast do they talk? Like I personally, I'm a very fast talker. I like to get through the words so that I can be done talking as soon as possible. But then, you have people who really like to savor their words. This is somebody who really thinks that they're, every word is super important or something like that. Like, so for me, it's like pacing comes first, placement comes second. So like, where does that live in their head? What do they look like? How do they position their jaw? How do they move their lips? What is their resting face? Not everyone has RBF, but people will generally be like, oh, I'm generally a little bit more pleasant looking, and that'll also help you sort of place your mouth in a certain way. So for me, I like to picture the character. I like to figure out their pacing, figure out their placement. And as far as keeping track in like real world applications, like if I'm doing an audiobook, I might forget 10 chapters later. So I will take samples from earlier chapters of characters and I will tuck them away in a little folder so that I can reference back to them at any point. And I'll usually find keywords that help me, or key phrases that help me get back into those characters. So it's like, all right, what's the one thing, like not necessarily like a catchphrase, sometimes there is one, but just like a thing that like will test and hit, like, okay, I'll hit all the vowels, I'll hit all the consonants, I'll hit all the thing, and I'll say that phrase a couple times until I'm like locked into that character, flex that muscle till I'm done doing it, and then I can relax again. I hope that made sense. Yeah.
I was just gonna say the exact same thing. Is like, for me, it's a key phrase that you vocalize enough that as soon as you say it, that's the character that you're going to be doing. So yeah, and with accents too, would you agree that you have like a key phrase with an accent if you're just going into an accent, even not a character?
Yes, I did a whole book where and also good voices come from bad impressions is one of my favorite little details. So it's like, I remember one of my key phrases for a short story anthology I did a long time ago was "my pot pie," which was a really, really bad fucking, oh no, what's his name? Clockwork Orange guy. Oh dear.
He's got a brother. He's got a brother. Oh,
sure.
I can't think of his name either. That's terrible.
But oh my gosh, why can't he's a legend. Anyway, so it was like a line he said on Heroes, and for whatever reason that lets me like get into like the weird old man British accent thing, but specifically his placement. And it's not a good thing, like not a good impression, but it gets me to where I need to be for a character such as that.
That's
Malcolm
really
Malcolm McDowell.
Yeah.
Malcolm McDowell.
Thank you, Malcolm McDowell. Also played Metallo on the Superman animated adventure.
Yeah.
I love him.
Sorry, go ahead, Alex.
It's just really funny because inadvertently that is exactly how I get to this one voice. Is the app was basically casting as this kind of Professor Easy who teaches you how to play Catan and tells you about the game and how to play it and all that. And in casting around for how I was going to find that, to try to settle in on that voice, it occurred to me that when I was in high school in physics class, there was a professor who my physics teacher would wheel in a video twice a week, hit play, and then go off and do other things. So I got that, this was like every, twice a week, every week. And it was a guy named Professor Julius Sumner Miller who would do physics experiments online. And he would always come on. The first thing he would always say is, "My name is Professor Julius Sumner Miller and physics is my business." And that was, I was like, oh, and that's the voice. that's the voice I need right there. And so, yes, that phrase puts me right back into being able to do Professor Easy as it's done on the app. And so that's a really interesting technique that, I inadvertently have picked up apparently. So that's great. Thank you.
The way I do it, if you guys don't mind,
No, go ahead,
if you aren't
please.
ready to move on. I always look at a character's face, and I like to, especially if there's an illustration. If there's no illustration, I just kind of got to make it up, right? But you see the size of the mouth. You see, like Danny said, like the energy that they're portraying in the image. And then for me, a lot of times what I do is a lot of characters I make a face for, and if I can get that physicality and look ridiculous, somehow the character gets that much more interesting vocally.
I like that.
Yes.
Also, wave your
Agreed.
hands
I make many
wildly.
a face. It helps.
Wave your hands wildly. Yes. Oh man. Okay. Wait. I went too far. I'm trying to ping people in right now, so apologies for my being silent. But there we go. Yes, Stacy. Now that you've opened up your mic, please introduce yourself to the general audience and tell us a little bit about what you do.
Hi, I'm Stacy Gordon. I'm a puppeteer in Phoenix, Arizona. I have the wonderful honor of performing the character Julia on Sesame Street. She's a 4-year-old Muppet who is autistic. And I'm literally currently building puppets right now.
Hey, fun.
Yay!
We have
Oh,
some
and I'm
builds going on right
transforming
now.
an ice cream truck into a mobile art studio.
Oh my
I
gosh.
saw.
Big
It's
project.
so freaking cool.
So
it
I'm
is
just going to
pretty great.
reset. I'm going to reset the room just for the few people that have joined us, or the one person that's joined us. This is not actually about a spa. We're not talking about steam heat or going in and getting yourself a massage or your feet worked on or whatever. We're actually discussing voiceover and puppetry with Danny Montooth, not Mantooth. Danny Montooth, and you're welcome to join us up on stage if you like, if you have any questions, as well as ping some friends in, because as I'm being told in the back channel, the title of my room does not do it justice. So apologies.
Yes.
Thank you, Amra.
Yes, that's me.
And a link to the Facebook would have been great too.
Yes.
Definitely. If you had put, find out all about puppetry or special puppeteer guests, come and ask any questions or interview with them or something like that, I think people will know, because I didn't know what spa meant. I knew it was acting related until I saw Chris Bass #2 in the Followed by Speakers. And so, yeah, you know what, I've been back channeling you, Chris, to hopefully help you.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm also going to supply my bio with a link to the Facebook feed if anybody wants to watch it, or the YouTube feed. Those will both be in the back channel now, and we'll see how long we can go before both Danny and I get sick of each other or have to leave. So I'm going to put that now. That is in my bio. So we've done that. Thank you, Amra. We're going to get the good word out. Stacy, so you have worked with Danny in the past. What is your favorite? No, you haven't.
We just weirdly know each other.
Yeah.
I was about to ask what your favorite memory was, but let's just make one up.
You know what? My favorite memory of Danny is meeting him on Clubhouse.
Yay!
There you
Yay!
Yeah. We know many of the same puppet peoples out in the world, so it's just like it's such a small community. So it's been good.
Yeah.
Yes,
So you
we
both
definitely run
know.
in the same circles.
I'm sorry. I'm just like my mind's flaring right now. You both know Deborah Goss, right?
Also, I only met Deborah through Clubhouse as well.
I don't know Deborah Goss.
Grossman?
Grousman,
I know
yes.
Grousman. I work with Deborah on Sesame Street.
Yeah.
And I actually
don't.
just took a voiceover workshop in May, and it was fantastic.
Oh, cool. I didn't know she was doing workshops. That would be fun.
That would be
Yeah.
fun.
Mm-hmm. I'm also building some puppets right now, Stacy. We're making some like horror film inspired cute little puppets for a pilot and they're going to be. So there's like a Creature of the Black Lagoon inspired one. We got a little vampire, a couple other things that we're piecing together right now, and we're finally done with that dragon. I don't remember if I've talked to you since then, but it's done.
Oh wow!
Thank
No,
God,
I've been
it's
I've been
over.
following it on Instagram, and it looks amazing.
Thank you.
And a little personal business here. I have been meaning to get back to you about Gen Con. Our house exploded, so we've been living in a hotel since July 20th, and I've just been trying to get my feet back under me while still running a small business. So I will get back to you, and it's all positive. So
All right.
Oh, right.
I want to pause you there for a second, because what I'm going to do now, Danny, now that we've talked about like maybe some more personal stuff, I'm actually going to end our show on Facebook and YouTube, so that we could open up the conversation a little more, I guess. So this is our traditional ending for. Oh wait, now we have 5 viewers on Facebook and YouTube. How can I end it now? Stacey, I hope it's okay that you shared that information with YouTube. And
totally
Facebook.
fine. It's
Okay,
out
good.
there in the world.
All right. Just to pause for a second to let everybody know that is in the room now that we are actually streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. So if you do have any information that you don't want to share, please don't. Please don't. Actually, like 5 people left the room just then. So.
I'm so glad I didn't talk about my boils.
Okay. That being said, we're now at a point where I can transition because we're now down to 1 viewer, and that's okay. So this is what I like to do for the memory of people, so that they can know that we really enjoyed each other's company, and just give them something to look back on. And it's something called Sitcom Freeze. So the idea here is that you and I will freeze at the moment of a sitcom where something pivotal has happened. Okay. And the ones that I've done in the past, I've done Seinfeld, The Contest. I've done Jumping the Shark on the actual Jumping the Shark on Happy Days.
Right.
So I entertain suggestions from people in the room now, if you have one, or we could just make one up on the spot. So any sitcom,
I believe in you, Clubhouse.
any scenario. Alex, you have one in the back of your head. You know you do. Flash your mics. All right, so we'll just come up with a scenario now.
Sure.
Let's see, classic sitcom scenario. Okay. Dwight has come into the office and sees that Jim is dressed oddly. I think you know what I'm talking about.
I don't watch The Office, so I
Okay.
don't, but I'm really going to pretend.
All right, you're going to pretend.
I also don't know.
So, Amra, I think Amra might know. Does she know?
I haven't seen The Office in years.
Okay, it's
And
okay.
I've only seen the UK one.
It'll be
sorry.
the UK one, of course. So,
Yay.
so
I have seen that one.
So, okay, let me just set this up for people who haven't watched The Office. So Dwight and Jim are lovingly at odds all the time.
Mhm.
So Dwight hates Jim, but Jim doesn't really hate Dwight. Dwight just kind of drives him crazy. So on this particular day, Jim has come in dressed exactly like Dwight, and Dwight is just not getting it. He doesn't understand that he's portraying himself. So I'll be Jim. No, I'll be Dwight, and you can be Jim. You have to act like me, and then I'm going to react. And after just a little play, then I'm going to say 3, 2, 1, sitcom freeze, and that moment will live on the internet forever. So,
boy.
all right. So I just want you to improv a little bit, acting like me, and then I'm going to react to it. What are you doing?
What are you doing?
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
What are you doing?
Nothing. What are you doing? Why are you getting in my face about it?
3, 2, 1, Sitcom Freeze.